How's it going, everyone? GSmith624 here, and today we are here to talk about the latest PTR patch notes that came out yesterday. These came out 19 hours ago by Jeff Goodman, and this is going to be a huge change to the meta and how the game plays. And here's the direct quote from Jeff Goodman. As we reiterate on the PTR patch, we are going to be trying out the following hero changes. These should be up on the PTR very soon, hopefully tomorrow morning. As always, these updates are subject to change. So that's the one thing I want to point out real quick, that they're just testing. This is not permanent as of right now. So the first change that's on here is Ana. She is getting a rather hard nerf. The first thing that's happening is her damage is being decreased from 80 to 60. That is a 20 damage decrease, which means instead of being able to previously 3-shot pretty much every attacking hero except for Tracer, who she could 2-shot, it now means they will require 3 shots. 4 shots instead of 3 shots. And Tracer will require 3 shots instead of 2 shots, or 2 shots and the biotic grenade. But also, on top of that, speaking of the biotic grenade, the impact damage from the biotic grenade has been reduced from 60 to 30, and the healing on it also has been reduced from 100 to 50. So that means Ana is going to be healing a little less, even more now, and going to be hurting the enemy team a lot less. Personally, my opinion on this, I think it's a much needed change, because Ana is the dominating support as of right now. There are other supports, but Ana, for the most part, with how fast her bullets travel compared to all the other supports, has the best DPS in game. I mean, it's not quite the best DPS. Technically, Zenyatta has the best support DPS, but even then, Ana has the best ranged DPS of all the supports, and on top of that, has the strongest healing of all the supports of the DPS, or of all the supports. So this is Blizzard's way probably of knocking Ana down another peg, even though she just did get that nerf to her biotic grenade, making it not as strong and take longer to charge. But even then, Blizzard was saying it was not enough and Ana needed yet another nerf, which personally I'm in favor for. I would love to hear what you guys think about it below. But on to the next hero. Junkrat is getting a huge buff. No longer hurts himself from his own explosions. It'll be added to his current passive, Total Mayhem, but that means when you're a Junkrat and you are just lobbing grenades everywhere and firing them, and some come bouncing back at you, you will no longer take damage from those, which is huge. Because a lot of the time you play as Junkrat, you get into a team fight and your bullets, you get too close to the enemy and they explode in your face. Now though, that won't happen. And your ultimate also will no longer blow you up, if what the patch notes say is true. However, I'm not entirely certain about that, at least. It just says from his own explosive, so I don't know if that applies to the ultimate or not. We will find out in the PTR though. Next up, getting another big change, is Orisa, the new hero. She's not even out yet and to the public, but Blizzard thought she was a little too powerful, so her magazine size has been lowered from 200 to 150, and her cost to increase has been increased by 15% to her ultimate, which means it will take her longer to recharge her ultimate and she won't be firing as much because she'll have to reload. Next up is Sombra. Once again, Sombra is still not powerful enough, so she's getting once again another buff. This is to her stealth and translocator. Now the stealth one is actually pretty interesting because it's sound effects and VO distance from entering and exiting stealth reduced to 15 meters. That means when Sombra enters and exits stealth, more so when she exits stealth, how she usually says her voice line, well, now it's not nearly as loud, so the enemy team won't notice if you are farther away. Because before, you used to be Sombra, you go out of stealth, the enemy team, anywhere remotely close to the enemy team, they would immediately hear you and they just gun you down. However, now they have to be pretty close to you in order for you to be caught. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the translocator cooldown is just It's fairly simple. Just the cooldown is being reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds, so that means your translocator will be available more often. Next up on the patch list is yet another buff, and this one is for Winston, and that is to his barrier projector. Cooldown now starts when the barrier is placed instead of when it ends. So beforehand, Winston's barrier, when you placed it, the whole entire time it was activated for 5 seconds. The barrier cooldown would not start. However, now, as soon as you place it, the barrier cooldown will start. So the barrier will be up for 5 seconds, and by that time the barrier is destroyed. Well, it does an average of 5 seconds. Usually it's up. But by the time it's destroyed, now, usually about half of your cooldown will already be gone. So that is a huge buff coming to Winston, and I'm looking forward to see that. And last but not least, we have a big buff coming to Zenyatta. His Orb of Destruction, his alternate fire recovery is reduced from 1 second to 6 seconds. So when Zenyatta used to fire his ultimate, he would keep his arms out in front of him, and he would keep it there for a whole entire second. Now it's been reduced to a little over half a second, so you won't have to sit there and recharge as long. And then the other buff to Zenyatta, which I'm looking forward to because this was a much needed buff with all the barriers in the game, and yet another barrier coming to the game with Orisa, is Orb of Discord can now target enemies through barriers. So I am excited to see that, because that means Ryan's shield, Orisa's barrier, or Winston's bubble now will no longer block the Discord from going to your opponents, which means you can pick out your key targets, and it doesn't matter if they go behind a Ryan shield, you can still target them and have your team focus them, which will be interesting to see how that affects. But all in all, that's been the patch notes. If you want to read them for yourself, the link will be in the description below. But so far, I'm a fan of all the patch coming. The Ana nerf is not as bad as people are making it out to be, and I'll make a video on that later. But as of right now, I'm excited to see what's to come. But I've been your host, GSmith624, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. So tell me that there, and make sure to hit that like button if you liked it, or hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Farewell, guys.